Hello, welcome everyone. I am chatting all about breaking a weight loss plateau. And actually, hang on, because one of the places I'm going live just put the wrong details in. So welcome to everyone who's joining live. I am so glad that you are here. And I'm going to be chatting today about how I broke my decade-long weight loss plateau. Holy crapoly, right? Hi, Ronnie. Hi, Sarah. So glad you're here. Feel free as you're joining. Let me know where you're joining from. And I would love to know if you're a beginner to trying to lose weight and heal some metabolic issues, or more advanced. You've been in the struggle for a while. For those of you who haven't met me, because I'm double streaming here, I'm Marissa Faye. I'm a functional nutritionist and I specialize in metabolic issues and hormone issues for women. And today I'm actually chatting specifically about my own experience losing weight and finally breaking my decade-long weight loss plateau, the tools that I use to do that, the tools that I help my clients with. And I'm going to be answering questions about peptides, GLP-1s, things like that, because they are a part of the equation, which might surprise you, depending on how long you've known me. So that said, I want to give a little background. So to me, there's a big difference between a woman who's struggling with her weight and is truly overweight. We're not talking the vanity 10 pounds, right? We're talking like there are multiple tens of pounds on your body that you really could stand to lose and let go of. And the reason we're concerned about excess weight, at least in part, is because of the inflammation it causes. And because when you're a woman, one of the key factors that can be dysregulating your hormones is that accumulation of fat, which accumulates toxins. So I always tell my clients that body fat, especially on women, but this is on all bodies, even animals, by the way, we sequester toxic substances into our fat cells when our body can't properly get rid of them, when our detoxification isn't working as well as it could be working, or should be working. And when that happens, our fat becomes really, really toxic and problematic. And I gained a lot of weight when I was a young person, gained a ton of weight, the bulk of my weight before I was even 15, I want to say. So I weighed about at the max 260 pounds. I'm 5'8". I'm going to give you all really specifics today. I don't think I've ever been so direct on these things and giving you the numbers, but I'm going to do it today because I think it can be really helpful and really profound in helping you make change. So I weighed as a teenager, right? 260 pounds. I'm 5'8". Oh, my sound's not working. Y'all tell me if you can hear me. Is that better? Let me know. Because I have my phones tilted up in a funny way because I have cats all around me, and I was going to go to my office and my desk to chat with you all, but I had to, okay, thank you. I had to prop it up in a goofy way because there are sleeping cats around me. Not all the cats. I have 2 cats, but sleeping and snuggling cats because we have a snow day here in Colorado right now. Okay, awesome. Thank you. So anyways, background of me and weight, because this is really important. The more years you have gained weight, held on to weight, struggled with losing weight, the more profound your metabolic damage likely is, and your body holding on to toxins likely is, which is going to have a profound impact on your hormones and cortisol. And it's part of why I talk so much about cortisol and how important it is. Side note, a lot of what you're seeing online from creators telling you about what to do for your cortisol and, you have high cortisol and all this stuff, a lot of it is bullshit and garbage, and be very careful about who you listen to because they can really lead you astray, is what I'll say. And if you have questions about specific things you've seen, let me know in the comments and I'm happy to debunk or further support something that you've been seeing in our conversation today. So as a teenager, I maxed out, 19, I maxed out at 260 pounds. And I grew up with a lot of trauma, a lot of toxin exposure. That's a story for another day, probably, unless you all want to hear more about that. But when I hit about 2021, I was like, shit, this is not the body I want to live life in. This is not the way I want to be experiencing life. And I started studying nutrition then. I started going to the gym then. I'm 38, right? So careful about comparing yourself to me in some ways, because I started really becoming intentional about food and about exercise 18 years ago, okay, when I was 260 pounds. Now, it took me about 5 years to lose 70 pounds completely naturally. And I did a lot of shit that you all probably have tried. Calorie restriction, cutting out entire food groups. I was vegetarian for a chunk of that really messed up my thyroid and my hormones more. I tried all the random fat burner supplements, all that. Like I was deep in that, right? And it really, while I lost 70 pounds, I really stalled. So I kind of hung around for many years between like 185 and 195, depending on the year and what was happening in my life. And that was really challenging because first I was doing a lot of things wrong, but able to see the scale move. I wasn't focused on the quality of my nutrients. I wasn't focused on if my movement was dysregulating my cortisol more. I wasn't super focused on my sleep or not drinking alcohol. I wasn't super focused on foods that cause a lot of inflammation and not eating those, right? But as I continued to navigate that journey and try to lose an additional 20 to 30 pounds that I really felt my body had to give, again, I'm 5'8", right? So I started my weight loss journey around 260. I hung out between like 185, 195 for many years, a decade, literally. And even in the last decade, and I posted something over on Instagram if you want to see it, because I'm live on 2 platforms right now. In 2020, I had a 30-pound regain, and that was scary AF. I was in a relationship that ended up not being a great relationship. And like most of us, I was dealing with a lot of stress around COVID. There was a lot going on that was really tough as a holistic nutritionist to see happening and to feel like I had lost a lot of choice about my body and my health when I was super informed about what bodies need, especially my body. And so I gained 30 pounds back. That was really tricky. I was able to lose, by the way, those 30 pounds over a year or two. So what I want you to take away from this first and foremost is you can lose weight and you can do it the easy, dirty, quick way, and it's probably going to backfire. So that's just something to be aware of, right? If you're really not eating enough, if you're over exercising, if you're taking a bunch of random supplements, if you're taking a bunch of random ass advice, you can really drive your cortisol into major imbalance, and you can really, really increase your inflammation and increase your hormone dysregulation. And that's going to cause a lot of problems in the long run. You may see initially you lose weight like I did, but you may not get all the way to your goal. Okay, so that's the first thing. The second thing is that I then started training and educating myself and literally became a functional nutritionist, y'all. I also got a master's in public health. I was really thinking about health on a systems level and an individual level, which is really unique to bring both of those experiences together. And I had worked with a lot of different practitioners over the years, chiropractor, acupuncturist, naturopathic doctor, functional medicine doctor, integrative medicine doctor, endocrinologist, all of these different practitioners. And nobody really tried to teach me the whole picture or a bigger picture way of looking at my health and how I needed to change things so my body would lose weight, because losing weight is a sign of your body saying like, we are safe, things are functioning well, our hormones are pretty balanced, our cortisol is balanced, we're doing these things to really take care of ourselves. Like, if your body's not there and you're in a weight loss plateau, there's a reason, okay? And even me, as an expert helping other women do this, I was in a stuck plateau for 10 years because my body was really just like, why? Why would we change this, right? Why would we change this? And I had done it all. I had done it all way back then in the unhealthy, dysfunctional way. And then in the last decade, I had done it all in like the wacky, weird, maybe this works. There's a study on this. There's a somebody I respect talking all about doing this thing. Like, I had done it all. And I hear from you all, like all the time, people will call me They'll set up a discovery call with me, which you can always set up through the link in my bio. And it's literally a way to chat about like, do we want to work together and what does that look like? What's my best service or way to support you? Because I have all different kinds of offers at different price points, y'all, and all different levels of kind of me hand-holding to you really DIYing and doing it yourself with the information that is going to help you. So all the time on those phone calls, I hear from you all where you're like, I've done it all. 95% of the time, you haven't even come close to doing it all. When you say you've done it all, what I've noticed people mean is I've tried all the trends on social media. So I've tried berberine. I've tried the keto diet. That's hardly trying it all. Hardly. Okay. So I really, though, after I went through this regain of 30 pounds in 2020 and then lost it again naturally, right? I really had to like come to Beyonce moment with myself where I was just like, I just intuitively feel that my body has more fat to lose. I just feel it. I just know this is not, the outside is not reflecting the inside. And so what is going on in the inside that I'm not paying attention to? And that led me to two things, many things, but two things in particular that I want to talk to you about today. It led me to testing my genome and looking at my genetic data to see what issues was I predisposed to potentially, what things are written in my genes, right, that I need to be aware of. Because y'all, your genes never change. They never change. Your genes never change, okay? But what changes is whether or not they're expressing and how much they're impacting you. So we have that ability to influence that, right? A major ability. And our day-to-day habits and choices, like what you're eating or not eating, how you're exercising, what supplements you're taking, how you're prioritizing sleep or not, what's going on with your mindfulness, what's going on in your day-to-day life, what things you're being exposed to toxin-wise, those all change how much the expression of those genes may impact you or not, okay? So I did genetic testing on myself and I thought, okay, well, this is interesting, right? Because my genetic test showed some things that sick version of me, you know, starting or stuck in really not feeling great 15 years ago would not have been surprised about. For example, my genes set me up to be more susceptible to low vitamin D, which many years ago I historically had chronic low vitamin D. It was very difficult for me to raise it. I would have to supplement with really huge doses. I currently have optimal vitamin D and I don't supplement a drop of it, okay? Because I have truly gone through the process of deep gut healing, of deep immune system healing, and I get my ass outside and I don't wear sunglasses, okay? So I unlocked the code for me of how to optimize my vitamin D levels, right? Even with that genetic setup. But here's the problem with a lot of these genetic tests. Like, who here has run a genetic test yourself through like one of the big companies? Anybody done it? I'm just curious. So if you've done it, what you've probably gotten is then a lab report where they say, here are the issues that you could face with your genes. Here's what you should do. Here are the supplements you should take. Here are the dietary changes you should have. Here are the lifestyle things that you need to do because of your genes. My report was so wrong. The interpretation that just the lab's AI system gave on my genes was so incorrect. From that example of vitamin D to another one related to iron that told me basically to stop eating red meat when I have chronically low iron and I look at my blood every 6 to 12 months. It's something that I'm constantly working on. If I stopped eating red meat, that would be a terrible idea. And actually red meat for me really actually helped improve my energy levels and improve my mood when I started to include it after not eating it, frankly, most of my life, like 4 or 5 years ago. So that's a bad recommendation. So I'm talking about me with my functional nutritionist, functional medicine practitioner hat on, looking at my genetic information and saying, okay, how does this line up with my symptoms? How does this line up with still me feeling like I don't have as great of energy as I could, with me still feeling like, sometimes my digestion is doing some weird things, it's slowing down a little bit. And also, why the heck can't I get out of this weight loss plateau? And I looked at my genes with that really in mind. I ignored what the lab report said, again, because a lot of the recommendations were wrong. They were wrong. But the raw data really told me an important story about what my body needed. And it helped me structure some changes in the habits that support weight loss, but for me, not the things that ultimately I see as like the giant levers. I was already doing some of those things. So I'm super duper laser focused on cortisol, because cortisol is one of our hormones that's involved in stress response, immune function, digestion. It's so critically important. And a lot of us have abused our cortisol. If you've spent years under eating, or if you spent years under eating and then overeating, or years exercising a lot, if you've spent years not sleeping enough, if you're somebody dealing with like hair loss, if you're somebody dealing with thyroid imbalances, you need to pay attention to your cortisol, okay? It's so important. I have a whole course devoted towards this, the Balanced Cortisol Academy, because it's absolutely critical, and it was just driving me nuts. Again, like the crazy information out there that's not actually helpful. So I really was already living life in that way. And adding to that, I was very focused on detoxification. With my genes, it really told the story of, yeah, girl, you need to be focused a crap ton on your detoxification. And also, you need to really consider what you've been doing when it comes to movement. And seeing my genes really helped some things click for me. So remember, if you've been with us this whole time, I started going to the gym 18 years ago, right? 18 years ago. So I have been in the gym. I've taught group fitness. I've taught yoga. Like, I am a gym girly, okay? I've been lifting weights for 15 years is what I would say. And I've been lifting weights, heavier weights, for probably 10 years, okay? So I have been focused on building muscle for a very long time, but I wasn't seeing those gains, and I wasn't seeing those benefits from a fat loss perspective until I saw my genetic data and I saw, well, crap. Okay, I really do need more rest and recovery. I really am not the person who's going to make gains in the gym and fat loss if I work out 5 days a week. And I was doing that for years, right? And stuck in this weight loss plateau, stuck feeling like I wasn't building muscle, stuck feeling like sometimes my energy levels were still crappy. That was like a huge aha moment to me. And I completely restructured how I focus on exercise. So as a result of that, and just everything I've continued to learn about my body, women's bodies, and optimizing fat loss, balancing cortisol, I restructured my workouts. I now am in the gym 3 days a week. 3 days a week doing strength training, okay? And then I walk every day, every single day. But I'm going to tell you something. Have you all seen these posts from influencers? It especially comes up with like the perimenopause, postmenopause influencers, where they're like, here's how you lose weight. You increase your steps to 15,000 steps per day. What the actual F? Who has time for that? Who wants to do that? Who feels good doing that? Because I haven't met her. And the person who's doing that, I think if it's not just naturally because you work somewhere and you're just on your feet a lot walking around, if that's not the case, I think we've got to adjust some things. It doesn't feel right to me that you have to take 15,000 steps a day if you're already sleeping really well, not drinking a lot of alcohol, or any alcohol really, if I'm being honest. If you're eating a balanced diet with enough protein, if you're waking up and having breakfast within an hour, if you've reduced your toxic load, it doesn't make sense to me that you need 15,000 steps a day in order to feel good and potentially come out of a weight loss plateau or lose weight like I did. My maximum steps per day. So I look with my steps, my goal is on an average per week. So I average 7,000 steps per day per week. So some days I walk 10 to 12,000 steps, and some days I walk 4,000 steps, okay, to give you perspective. But I look at each week over week, am I averaging 7,000 per day? So that's my goal, and that feels like a little bit of a push for me, just given that I spend so much time working with clients and working on my courses and working on my business and helping other women with all the things that I've been talking about. I spend so much time doing that. There's a lot of sitting. I don't love walking pads. Like, oh my God, that's the other thing I have to tell you all. Like, yeah, Ronnie said it gives me anxiety and the feeling of failure, right? Like if you can't walk, 2 miles every day. Yeah. So, and that's the thing is, with steps, I really do recommend looking at the daily average in a given week, because I think it's really helpful then to give yourself grace and have some days where you walk a mile, some days where you walk 3 or 4 miles, and to give your body that ebb and flow. We need that, right? It really is something we need. So 7,000 steps is where I feel like I make progress. It's manageable. And then I prioritize steps outside. Steps outside. I can't, okay, you all need to know. Have you seen all these influencers pushing walking pads on you that are like $700 to $1,000? You don't need to spend that on a walking pad. Okay, that's because they're getting commission off of it, and probably a pretty nice commission when you buy it. You can literally go on, search anywhere, honestly, get online and be like, where can I get a walking pad for under $400? I've had 2 over the last couple of years, and none of mine have cost more than $350. So you don't need to spend that, first of all. Second of all, I don't think we get the same benefit from walking. When we do it on a walking pad, well, we're typing and working. No. Part of the benefit of walking is literally that you're outside and your body is with some amount of nature, right? And you're in the moment and you're focusing just on that. You're not focusing on like, oh my God, I'm working right now and I have to figure this out. Blah, blah, blah. That's a great way to jack up your stress hormones again, to jack up your cortisol again, okay? So we're all about like, how do we do not that, right? Literally walking outside changes the game. It helps regulate your cortisol. It helps regulate your mood in most cases. It helps give your body a reset, and then you're going to benefit from that low intensity movement. So that has been a huge cornerstone of what I've been doing to break out of this weight loss plateau. And then finally, before I jump in, and I've seen some of your questions come in, but before I jump in and answer your questions, and by the way, if you want to do genetic testing, I'm running a really special lab package right now that I can do with folks anywhere. So we can do it internationally. If you're outside of the US though, there's an additional fee just for the shipping of it. But if you're in the US, you literally can go and book it right now. So bit.ly/genomic test. GENOMIC. Is it genomics or genomics? Hang on. Let me see what I set it as. Genomic test, yeah. So bit.ly/genomic test. GENOMIC test. TEST. You all know what I'm saying. Anyways, if you want to book this lab package, it's going away next week. So I'm just offering it for this limited time because it includes, you have an at-home DNA test kit that you get. It includes a lab report. It includes a 60-minute visit with me where we review your results, and also where we talk about a plan for you for 6 months to get your shit right based on what our genes are telling you and what we're learning about your body based on your symptoms, your habits, all of that. So I give you a 6-month plan that's going to tell you about dietary piece, going to tell you about exercise piece, going to tell you about what supplements you might benefit from after I talk to you, right? This is really important. We've got to get that human side of it, which is what I said with like these lab reports where you run your own gene testing and they send you a lab report giving you all these contradicting recommendations that I don't agree with and that are not person-centered. We are all about bio-individuality here, which is all about customizing things to you. So that's the piece there. The second piece of what I did is peptides. And that does include a touch of GLP-1s, by the way. But I feel like I'm going on long-winded and I'm seeing some of your questions come in. So I might do a second live where I talk about peptides just because there's so much there that I want to share with you. I've been studying it all year. And I have a kind of a new take on it. I've also been using it with a couple of clients, and I'm toying with the idea of teaching you all on a bigger scale how to use them. But I'd love to hear from you if that's something you're interested in, you want to learn about, because there's a lot that you can do without a doctor with these really, really incredible agents. So, yeah. Okay. So, my phone just did funny things. Okay, so I saw somebody ask about what genetic test I use. So I am using a test that you can order as a consumer, but when you order it as a consumer, you don't get all the back end of literally all the genes and the gene variants. You get the lab report saying, here's what we think is going on, which I've established is full of crap and does it mean, it's like 50% information that's useful and 50% that's probably not. And so it's really important to get that human side of things so that you can apply it to really what is going to be useful for you. So I am using the 3x4 genetic test right now. And like I said, if you want to book a package with me, it includes the test, okay? But then you also get my interpretation based on learning about you and a plan for at least 6 months that some of you could take and run with for much longer than that, okay? Years ago, I ran other types of DNA tests that I don't like as much. So if you worked with me, because I saw a question come in, if you worked with me years ago, and it was not the 3x4 test, then you have not had this most recent kind of test, and you haven't had this package that I'm offering, because it's a new package that I just started offering that's only going to be available for about another week. And like I said, if you want to book it, you can go to bit.ly/genomic test if you're interested. Okay, so let me check out some of the questions you all have submitted. My nose always gets a little runny this time of year, so let's see. I'm going to try to find them. What are the correct tests to run for cortisol? Okay, so Lynn asked this. Lynn, are you still on? So here's the thing with running tests on cortisol. I know how cool data is. Trust me. I have access to so much data. I could run all the tests on myself all the time, on my family members, offer them to my clients at every moment. One of the things I really, really pride myself on is running the right test at the right time, or abstaining from running tests if it's not the right time. And that is because running a test when you haven't made the appropriate dietary changes, when you haven't changed your exercise and movement habits, when you haven't prioritized your sleep, when you haven't worked on literally your nervous system, it's a waste of your money. Because what that test is going to show us is like, yeah, your cortisol is dysregulated. There could be 50 million reasons that's happening, okay? I would much rather have somebody go through making all of these changes, which I teach in the Balanced Cortisol Academy, and I'm going to be doing a really awesome Black Friday bundle for you all. So if you want to make sure you get that info, head to the link in my bio and grab the free cortisol roadmap so you're on my email list, or feel free to send me a message to add you to my email list. But I'm going to be doing a really amazing Black Friday bundle that's going to be such an awesome price to help you do that, all those things I mentioned that are important for cortisol balance and frankly, hormone balance. So here's the secret that nobody talks about, which is, and anybody who works in marketing knows this, someone who does what I do, where I'm a functional nutritionist, I specialize in hormone health, I talk a lot about cortisol. When we get cortisol right, we get a lot of other hormones right. The strategies I teach to help regulate cortisol are strategies to help regulate many, many hormones, okay? So I just as easily could say the Balanced Cortisol Academy helps you regulate estrogen and progesterone, helps you regulate thyroid function. I could say all of that, right? But cortisol is a hot thing, and it is really, really important, and there's specific education around cortisol in the course, but really I could tweak the course a little bit and sell it as some other hormone. So that's something to know. And that is because holistic strategies like the ones I teach you and I teach my clients help the whole body, the whole system. When we look at let's just do this one thing. Let's just help this one thing. I feel like the field of neurology is a great example. Okay, endocrinology too. Neurology, they're like, we just do brain. Well, guess what, people? Your brain is connected to the rest of your entire body. Okay, so if we've got a brain issue, we've got a gut issue, we've got a nervous system issue, right? Like we've got a bigger system issue. Why in the world would we want just to do something that only has the potential to look at or help the brain? We wouldn't, right? We want to like get more bang for the buck, more strength from the punch. You know what I'm saying? So that's the first thing. I know this is long-winded. That's who I am. If you haven't spent time with me, now you know. But here's the piece. If I'm measuring someone's cortisol, Lynn, because they've gone through all of those pieces I mentioned of the puzzle that need to be worked on, like your diet, like your exercise habits, like your sleep, like your nervous system health. If you've gone through all that, then I will do something like a Dutch adrenal test is what I'll do. And the reason I like that is because a couple of things. One, it's an at-home collection, so it's easy. You don't have to be giving blood in the lab 4 times in one day, because that's literally what you'd have to do for a more accurate picture. Number 2, it's urine-based, so that is also very easy to do at home. Number 3, it's going to give us a picture of over the course of a day, which is helpful because cortisol should be high at certain times a day and low at certain times a day. So if we just run blood work on cortisol 1 time a day, it literally tells us, okay, around that time of day, on this day of the week, with the current life stressors you've had, here's what's going on with cortisol. Is that helpful? Rarely. It's helpful if something really, really serious is going on. And I have clients who have very, very serious cortisol things going on, like true diagnosed adrenal insufficiency and Addison's disease. And for them, it is very useful and important. But for most of us, a one-time look at it Sometimes I run it if I'm looking at the scope of other things that might be going on in someone's blood work or doing a spot check of something, but it's really not the best way to test cortisol. And we also always want to like consider your symptoms, your day-to-day habits, your lifestyle to see, is running a cortisol-based test the best answer right now anyways, because it may not be. So that's something to really keep in mind. Okay. Okay. I'm looking, I know there were other questions and my phone is scrolling, and I always apologize if I miss one of your questions in one of these chats, because it's a lot of things coming in. And so I can't always catch all of your questions. But I try to. Okay. I answered that question about DNA testing. Okay. I think I'm caught up on most of these tests, or most of the questions you all asked. Okay. So that said, I'm just going to give that plug one more time that, like, keep in mind, it matters who's looking at your lab work always. Because when doctors look at lab work, they're looking to diagnose a disease. When I'm looking at lab work, I'm looking to optimize your body and your life. It's a very different perspective. And the lab ranges that your doctor uses and says is normal. Who's heard that from a doctor? Oh, it's normal, even though you come in and you clearly have a lot of freaking symptoms. It's not normal. It's what we see. It's kind of what they're saying. It's what we see, and I can't diagnose you with a disease. So I can't prescribe a medication. There you go. Not helpful, right? So annoying. So here's the thing to keep in mind. When we're doing things from a functional medicine lens, from a holistic nutrition lens, we're looking at, how do we optimize? How do we make you heal and feel better and better and more energized? How do we help you grow healthier, more luscious hair? How do we help you have nicer skin that you don't have to cake on a crap ton of makeup on? I have not a lot of makeup on right now, y'all, and I'm 30 and I'm proud of it, okay? How do we help you lose weight in a way that's going to be sustainable and also optimize your cortisol, optimize your hormone function, optimize your health, right? We really, really have to consider this, okay? I'm seeing Ronnie say, yeah, every year she hears from her doctor, the labs are normal. I know, it's infuriating. And I will tell you, in all my years doing this, which 8 years, okay, doing this, having my business, helping women like me, like you, I have never had a woman come to me with symptoms whose blood work even I've looked at that their doctor said was normal and there's no problem. I've never seen someone's lab work and say, yeah, no problem. I don't see anything that we can work on. I don't see anything that's not optimal. Your doctor's right. It just so happens, your hair is falling out. It just so happens you're really freaking tired. It just so happens you can't lose weight and it's impossible. I don't know. I don't see anything in your blood work that could possibly tell us why. Never. Okay. So please know that if you're being told things are normal and you don't feel it's normal, it's probably not. But also consider if something like this genetic testing that I shared about and how much it helped me could help you. And like I said, I have that package that's going to be going away next week that includes me running your genetic data. It's an at-home test, super easy. We meet for an hour. I get to know you. I contextualize the results, and then I give you a 6-month plan that honestly some of you can use forever because it's not going to change. Your genes don't change, right? The only thing would change is if other things happen in your life or your environment that influence it. So I really want to encourage you, though, to just be thinking a little bit outside of the box if you're somebody dealing with a lot of symptoms. And I will come back at some point in the next couple of days and do a part 2 to this live, talking more about things that helped me get off of my weight loss plateau, especially talking about peptides and GLP-1s, because I know it's something you all want to hear about. And if you don't, depending on where you're seeing this, make sure that you like and follow me over on Instagram. At Marissa Faye Wellness is my username there too. I'm just on stories a lot there. I'm a little more active over there. It's where it's feeling fun and close, and like we can have more conversation. So make sure you follow me over there. Make sure you grab my free cortisol roadmap. That's 4 food-based strategies to help you balance your cortisol in the link in my bio. And make sure you check out that genomics package if it speaks to you. All right, y'all, have a wonderful rest of your day, and I'll be back with a part 2 at some point soon.